Okay, so we have a couple of questions, and you can answer in any order. So I ask a question, and you raise your fingertip and say, I'm ready to answer, and then we'll have it, okay? And we start with the big picture and kind of combining the business and the design. So we ask, how could companies capitalize design better? Tick, 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 tick. All right. Otso.
All right, let's start with this. So I would immediately recommend to see this question from two perspectives. One is maybe the business model or a business model of design, which in, for example, the case of Nokia Technologies is now in the news, would be what we call brand licensing. And the other one is the processes that a designer needs to handle today in order to get to good design, in order to do his job. So these are two different things. And I could almost pass the mic to you guys because hello, Tim, sitting on the other end of this panel. We are now practically the business-to-business axis here. So on one side of the business is the consultancies, and on the other side of the business is the technology companies, just picking out these two now as keywords. And the perspective on what we need to do and how we are doing it, why we are doing it, and which rules to obey to get to good design is different on both sides. Maybe you could tell something about the Fjord side of things.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that comes to my mind is storytelling, because I actually have my background actually is more on business consulting actually than design. Design's quite recent for me, and in business consultancy, if I look at the contrast, our clients typically wanted to sort of be very clear about what the outcome was going to be. They wanted to sort of see almost like a snapshot of what the final deliverable would be. And those same clients now are entering into the field of buying design, and to some extent they're sometimes asking the same question about the design. They want to see the end result, which is clearly very difficult if you haven't actually done the design. And so, in my mind, the most important thing is being able to tell a really good story about what has happened before, how design has transformed things, and to talk about how that would apply for the particular challenge or whatever it is that you're facing. So for me, it's about being able to tell really good stories.
Better stories. So companies are buying end products, although design is selling the process of creation, something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's an educational problem or challenge for the sellers.
Yeah, I think if I go back to sort of more business IT type consulting, you could use customers usually had quite a good idea of what they wanted at the end, so it was more about getting it done, and you could show examples of other things you've done, and it was much easier to visualize what the outcome was going to be at the start, and therefore people are more confident about heading off on the journey.
Yeah.
Not so much, I think, with design, because the whole point is that you're going to go out there and explore and research and
We often tend to think that the problems, the challenges with the customers, but isn't it always with the sales or the people who are trying to sell? The challenge is with us and not with the buying customer, if they don't understand. Petter is nodding, so take the mic.
Yeah, I think it's quite often also understanding the potential of the design, because there's a history how designers have been working with corporations and they have had a certain role in there. And
so are you saying that by seeing the big potential is seeing through the design to see the money and value?
More or less.
And return on investment.
Connecting with the business. And also maybe a little bit more strategic role in creating holistic brand experience and things like that. So it has been pretty tactical in my mind.
So by growing to be strategic and taking the role, can you really take strategic role, or is it something that you have to be given by the others?
Yeah, earn in a way.
Earn.
Yeah, and sort of being able to show the value.
So does it mean that design should start talking business instead of design?
I think it comes from both directions. Showing the value in strategic planning and understanding the trends, what's relevant for the company, and holistic thinking about the customer experience. Also, I think it hasn't been a role in corporations of giving the mandate for somebody to think about the holistic brand experience, for example. It has been fragmented for different disciplines. So that's also one of the challenges.
What do you see the role of this forum, Design Forum Finland, as building or combining business and design?
So my background has been there for the past 15 years of trying to speak in layman's language about the design benefits and things like that in the management teams. But I think in Design Forum, Finland's role now is in the core of it is to focus on the sort of introducing on a little bit more strategic level the benefits of design for corporations.
Excellent. Any other comments on capitalizing design?
Yes, I think Petteri made a good point that I also wanted to raise, that I think companies should really start understanding that design maybe cannot deliver some kind of KPIs, or the return on investment for design it takes time to be realized, but still design is kept in some companies, let's say, in a minor role still, and they are not taken very seriously. So this should be really embedded into the company strategy that they should.
But if all the organization architecture is about silos, then design becomes just one silo, one closed silo. You design, we do the business.
Yeah, but it seems like that nowadays.
It really seems like
maybe
that.
For your question, an answer, should design speak business, is that I think they should be kind of simultaneous translators between the business and the customer. And I think that is something that designers should take up as a challenge.
Yes. But isn't it always a challenge if somebody tries to sell you value and you need somebody to translate it into the business talk?
Yes, it is a challenge.
Susan?
I actually think it's quite challenging to monetizing this digital services, for example, in healthcare. And we have so far we have developing Oma Terveys, and it's free for everyone. In terms of conditions, it's said that it's not free, but so far we haven't charged anything, but we have the possibility. But I think the design is crucial, because that's the only way to show the customers what is the value of the service. If it's easy, if it's comfortable, it's faster, it has to be something worth paying. And the other thing is that paying must be easy.
So the design kind of highlights the key benefits and builds the advantage.
Yeah, and that's the way to tailor the service for individual customer.
Okay. About Terveystalo, and you're saying it's being a cost and expense. You just said that you have 350,000 potential, but they are everybody okay and they're healthy, so you need to sell yoga classes instead of.
Well, they are not all healthy.
No, not healthy. Somebody needs to be sick today. Petteri. Oh, Tim.
Yeah, just reflecting on the discussion there. We in Fjord, we've done quite a lot of work with what we call employee experience, which is more about looking at employees than necessarily out at the market. And interestingly, using return on design investment models in those cases have actually proved to work very effectively when you're looking at employees. Possibly because there's a sense of more control and better ability to track, so you can have key experience indicators.
Yes.
And we've implemented those sorts of models. It's worked very well in that sort of scenario. I can't. Nothing comes to mind when you're actually looking out into the market and customers, but it works well certainly inside the enterprise.
Yeah, I think the return on experience, ROE.
Well, we call it RODI as a return on design investment.
Return on design investment. Well, I think it's self-evident, and we can see it with your examples and all that. The question is, why doesn't the old ones or the kind of turnaround ones see the demand for change? We see these plasma companies coming through the market and offering services and grabbing all the customers, and still we think that we're okay with the old model. So is it that we're lying to ourselves, or are we just watching the market? What's the reason? Why is all the disruption comes from outside the industry? Anyone? Petteri?
Yeah, I think it's this history and the culture that is changing slowly. So I think, especially in Finland, we have a quite isolated market area with moderate competition. So I think it's especially creating challenges for understanding the importance and change of globalization and digitalization, because the companies have been around here for 100 years and they have been going up and down, but now they don't understand that there's a real hockey stick at the moment and they should turn around their business model to succeed. Another point for this one, why corporations are not using design in a let's say more holistic approach is the time, measuring time, that you start to measure the benefits of creating a, let's say, clear vision, better consumer experience. It takes a while, and most of the KPIs in the management teams are pretty short-sighted, half a year. And if you really create the vision for, let's say, completely customer-driven brand experiences, take 5 years or 7 years. So I think that's one challenge at least.
Okay, let's go to the topic of the panel, since we have like 6 minutes left. What's the role and the future of so-called hero designer? We've kind of lived in the world where we have designers who create masterpieces, but in all the presentations today, we kind of highlighted that design is more about teamwork, complicated processes, kind of holistic approach to the customer experience. So do we see the designers as heroes in the future, or is it always a team job? Maybe you want to start.
Super good question. We're definitely going away from hero designers, that's for sure. But that doesn't mean that we don't run into individuals of extraordinary skills and genius. But the way we work has definitely changed. The pace how we work has changed. And the way we collaborate with, for example, engineering has definitely changed. And it will not change back so fast because of the time requirements that we have. So we have gradually been moving to what we refer to as lean methods, design by prototyping, building designs on insight instead of assumption. So the time span we are talking about to have to come up with brilliant design is so short that I hardly doubt that it can be done with one person.
Okay, any other comments?
I think we are going to need designers, definitely, but we also need to listen to customers very carefully. We need to do the design work with them. And I also think that lost of thought.
Okay. So
I can have a short speak.
So we can't have isolated design master or mastership in a way. We need interactive culture, kind of co-creation. That's something.
And the work is never done. It's a continuous process.
So
the digital world is never done. We'll have to go on all the time, and we have to have the courage to do the mistakes.
So like
everything is not going to be a success. We'll have to accept, and that's difficult for Finnish people.
Yeah, we want to create perfection, although we should start discussion and sharing and trying and failing. Okay,
I can defend the hero design a little bit. So, working in a long time ago in Nokia's massive mobile phone project, I felt that I was the defender of the customer need. So, and that was that's why I felt that the person in a huge project that is purely thinking about the customer need is vital.
If I recall, you always lost with Nokia.
Not for the first years. We pick up the competitors. Yeah. I started in '93, so then
that's right.
Market 3.
2110.
First 10 years were pretty okay. Yeah.
That's right. Because even the kind of how could you memorize the Nokia UX with your thumb? I still can't. That was the reason to buy the next one.
Yeah, and I think
Ericsson was a disaster.
Customer were pretty much in the focus at that point.
So you see, as a hero designer role within the design process, but is it the extraordinary individual who runs the show or plays the part?
Of course, plays a part in the team. That's for sure. But I think if you think about the huge R&D project, who's defending the customer need in the end, well, I suppose everybody should, but I think it's specifically the role of the designers there.
Kati?
I would like to see in the future that companies, as Tim mentioned, so sort of internal design within the company has proven very successful, and it has sort of clear implications for return on investment. But I would like to see that in the organizations, the designers could actually teach the other co-employees some of the design thinking methods and things that designers are typically talented in their way of thinking and being able to solve problems in an agile and lean way, and kind of bring this empathy and the customer centricity throughout the whole company, throughout the HR and accounting and procurement and sales, and so that the whole company would be more design-oriented.
But I think that's the key question. Instead of talking design and designers, should we just start training and creating design processes as part of the business culture? Isn't it the problem we don't have boxes, or if we have box, we have silo, but we don't have the culture? We're like the great country of design, Finland, who doesn't have the skills and processes to create design.
Yeah, I think designers have a lot of PR work to do within the company still. But definitely I would like to see and explore the world, how that would be like when the whole company would sort of respect the way of thinking that the designers typically have.
Yeah, but like thinking about Susanna, if we could sell Susanna the idea that instead of thinking about design as a part of customer service or marketing, let's create design process for whole terveystalo and start spending money on fighting with the doctors. That would be probably better investment, maybe. This idea? Is there idea? Okay. Masochists, anyone who wants to hurt themselves, talk to the doctors.
Yeah, so going back to the original question, I think that there's two things that come to my mind. One is diversity, and the other is ego. And on diversity, I think the landscape in which we operate and design for is constantly becoming more complex and in itself more diverse. And if I look at when we've had a fairly diverse team within Fjord, the results have undoubtedly been a lot better, because you have people from different backgrounds, different age groups, different sexes, all sorts of things. And the more of that you have in the design team, the better the thinking is going to be, and the better the design outcome will be.
Yeah, I think there are good examples like RGA and Nike and TBWA and Apple, where the design agency becomes like the extension of the company in a physical building where they work together, separate from both. And I think somewhere there is the process and way where the magic happens in the kind of the early stages of the culture. you work together, you fight together, you learn together, and then something comes out.
Yeah, and I think going to the ego point, having a single person with a big ego, in my experience, can be a problem in that, in sort of getting the benefit out of that diversity. But I do see positiveness in having ego within a team. And again, that's where I've seen the best results produced, where there's no one individual in the team who's like the hero designer. It's a hero design team.
Yeah, I think it should be multiple, like heroes of design instead of design hero.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Everybody's nodding in the audience. Maybe one more shout from the audience. You can do it in Finnish. Question, feedback, comment? Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name is Ismo Turunen from Tekes, and I would like to, you mentioned together. There has been mentions that designers with customers, but still the talk about the design is as design would be sort of separate. How about not talking that how could the companies utilize design or what design could do in a company? The question would be what to do together with other disciplines. What design can do together with engineers? What designers can do together with doctors?
Shared design.
No. Cooperation. Design is only one discipline. Engineering is important. Economics is important. Marketing is important.
Sales
so
is
not separately, but trying to get to cooperation, not only as a separate discipline.
I think we have all the buzzwords in place for co-creation and working together and buzzwords and on. Any comments on this? Should design start cooperating instead of selling their ideas? Let's keep it short.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Short.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Short comment on this. When I recently came back to Nokia for this, what I tried to show you, I was a bit afraid of coming back to the old Nokia. That was exactly a place where design and engineering was working in silos. And what that meant for the process is that the designers had been creating documentation for their vision or for their design, handing it out to that part of the organization that eventually moves that documentation on to the engineers. And during that travel of the documentation, there was a lot of misinterpretation and translation, and people were adding and people were removing stuff. So the original design never really got into the products. Some of it, yes, some of it, none. And the Nokia that I returned to, things completely different.
Okay, are we finished? Are we done? Everybody okay? Okay, let's give a big hand. Thank you. Kiitokset yleisölle, kiitokset puhujille. Thanks for the speakers, kumppaneille, Fjord, partners and everyone. Jatketaan verkossa ja Petteri sanoo vielä jotain.
Joo, kiitos myös Villelle hyvästä fasilitoinnista ja kiitos panelisteille. Meillä itse asiassa rupeaa lounas pukkaamaan päälle, mutta meidän nämä Design Forum Talkit jatkuu sitten Design viikon aikana. Eli kiitos ja palataan asiaan.